Good morning, good evening, good afternoon from Oplerno. This is Team Meeting 60. We have a full agenda today of announcing classes in terms of the top searches that we're getting, some upcoming classes, questions from faculty, a mail update, live chat, a little talk about the referral program, and woodblock session proposals. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Daniel, and we'll get started.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. Yeah, we have some very interesting things. We don't have any new classes this week, but we have some reveal some of our top searches. On Oplerno, a lot of people have been searching for philosophy. They've been searching for math and mathematics. They search for business. Those are our top three, and then we have further along history and sociology, hacking for some reason. I wouldn't know why. And for existentialism, of course, which I think is related to philosophy, so we could probably collapse those together. And for computers and writing. And I think computer courses are for some of the courses that were very much lacking in there. And of course, if you have a course up there, if you have filled in your description and your syllabus, then of course you'll get presented in the search list. With a small change that we made since last week is that we've created a low water mark. So from I think it was Wednesday last week, all courses which don't have the basic things filled in, so they don't have a course icon or a course image, they don't have a description, they don't have basically courses that only have a title, which we have a lot of. They've been removed from Oplerno, or at least not removed. They've been relegated, so they're not displayed on the front page. Only courses which are actually contain a description, a title, an image, and some other. If they have some other things as bonus, then they get ranked better. But otherwise, they fall underneath our low watermark, and they don't get ranked on our page, on the front page. So, but they're still complete. You can still find them via the search. So that's absolutely no issue at all. And of course, you still have them on your own your personal instructor page. Yeah. Dan.
That's excellent. Yeah, Dan. Yeah, upcoming classes.
One second here, I just got to pull those up. Nothing in. We have critical thinking in about 3 weeks, 4 weeks. That's a humanities style course. The advanced course design and online teaching from Professor Kaiser for Oplerno faculty or any other faculty who want a crash course in designing their course or enhancing their online teaching skills. Those start in just under 2 weeks, as well as ethics for information technology professionals and introduction to sustainability also starts in 2 weeks. So there's a handful coming up. Those are all available on the marketplace, and yeah, those are the design and course pages for all those look really good.
Yeah, again, if you're a faculty member who's having any difficulty in terms of making the transition from face-to-face to online learning, please check out Linda's 2-week compressed class sessions and shoot her an email and find out the one that best fits your needs. Let's talk a little bit about the mail update.
Yeah, so that's me again. Mail. We've been having a little bit of issue. We've been having some small issues with mail. Not so much with the mail being lost or mail being not being delivered. Everything is being delivered. We're getting all the mails in properly, but there's been some issues with people who are using Thunderbird being able to connect to the mail server. These issues are not all solved yet, and we're currently seeing if we can solve them. So our advice currently is to not use Thunderbird and to use a different mail client. So whether you're using your mail app from if you're using Apple or you're using Outlook or using your Gmail or your Hotmail to pop your mail or to get your mail via IMAP, that's all fine. If you're using Thunderbird then and you really, really desperately want to continue using Thunderbird, please contact me offline. You can contact me at crompton@oplerno.com or, of course, at info@oplerno.com or questions@oplerno or whatever the other email addresses are. And especially good, you can also contact me on Slack, because on Slack, I'm always available. So contact me on Slack and then ping me, and then you'll just be able to reach me immediately. I mean, no questions, straight away. Come on, Slack.
And you can go on the website, which is the next subject to talk about, which is the live chat feature. If you go onto the website and you click on the bottom right-hand side, you'll see a little tab. You can click on there, put in your question, and then there'll be somebody at the other end who will be able to answer that question, for you, and it can be on practically any subject or topic that you want. Anything else we want to talk about in terms of live chat?
No, we use live chat goes to Slack, so Slack is perfect there.
Yep. And thanks a lot to all the faculty members who are starting to join the Faculty Oplerno Slack site, and we periodically post announcements. And again, if you have questions, a lot of us are looking at that to make sure that we do the proper support for customers, for students and faculty. Who put talk about the referral program up?
I think that might have still been an item from last week on the schedule.
Yeah, I think it was, because I didn't have anything to say about that. Anything new anyway.
Okay, so just very quickly, remember the referral program on the when you log in to the marketplace to enroll.oplerno.com, you'll see a bar that says split up. You'll see a little bar that says refer a friend. Okay, and when you click on that, what you get is a notification that allows you to recruit a student. And we've talked a little bit about the fact that if you're a U.S. national, of course you can refer students to Oplerno without a problem, but you're not going to be able to receive any kind of economic benefit by doing that. On the other hand, if you're from outside the U.S. and you refer a student from anywhere outside the U.S., you'll receive a $50 credit for each student that accepts and takes a class. And so you can use those credits to really cash in and pay for one of the programs, one of the classes that Oplerno offers. So, we've created this basic infrastructure to start to generate these referral programs as we get more up to speed in terms of the admissions process, etc. Okay. I'll talk a little bit about Woodblock. We've set a date for Woodblock, which is August 4th, okay, which we'll be sending out an announcement on our June update. And we've already gotten one speaker to commit to talking with us. It's going to be a day-long program. It's not 5 like we did last year. That was too much. But it's going to be an intensive day-long program with different speakers. If you're a faculty member or even a student and you want to make a presentation at Woodblock to our audience or talk about a specific thing, and generally any topic is up for grabs, especially if it has to do with online learning and recruitment, marketing. If it's an academic, particular academic subject or research that you want to present, sure, shoot us an email, and then we'll put you in at the session. There's going to be more on this later, but we wanted you all to set aside, that date in early August, which is, let me just double check. I should have had that written down. August Yep, August 4th. And yeah, we've got an hour and a half session already done, and we'll be adding more as time goes on over the next couple months.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to some of the people that we've tentatively approached about sessions. Some of them have some really, and of course one of our main speakers, or one of the speakers is coming really interesting subjects. So not just about education and say Oplerno, such as last time we'd had a lot of sessions about how to do things within Oplerno. This time we have a lot more also about general subjects, which is very cool.
Yeah, I would love to get a person to speak on the student loan debt and the impact that that's happening in different countries all over the world. Maybe being able to snag one of the authors who has who has published some interesting books about higher ed and the changes that are happening. And so, yeah, it's very free form. We want really interesting subjects that add to what the faculty is doing. This is all virtual online. We might have a small space in Burlington, Vermont, or in other locations where you can come and see people face to face. But we're making this virtual so that it's accessible to everyone. Okay. Sujin, do you want to share some of the awesome work you've been doing on the website? Because every time I look at it, there's something new, and it's excellent. The front page is much clearer than it was. Anything you want to add or show off?
Yeah. Well, nothing new to show off this week, but I can go ahead and tell you what I'm planning on working on this week.
Okay.
So this week is updating the woodblock section of the site. Now that we do have a date, hooray! I've already moved last year's stuff over, so you can go, if you have no idea what we're talking about when we're talking about woodblock, you can go to the website and look at last year's sessions. And that's in a separate area, and this year's will be in focus. And there's also, making a separate refer a friend area on the website. So right now it's kind of squished up in the students area, but I've been revamping the whole students area altogether, which is almost done, but there are a couple of little more niggling things that are annoying me before that goes live. And then there are some other exciting things in work. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I just really like the there's changes that have been happening in terms of the marketplace, the layout there, changes in terms of the front page, the faculty pages, and other stuff that we're going to be announcing pretty soon. That again are some really exciting initiatives. We've got to do a few more. We've got to go through a few more steps in terms of signing people on the dotted line. But there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we can't necessarily really talk about right now. So I think that's that's our quick update. Do we have any questions from the faculty or the audience today in terms of what just popped up?
Yeah, no, well, I spoke to Keith Fox this morning, and he asked a very poignant question, so I put that in the list already. He was going to post on Crowdcast, but he hasn't gotten around to it, I think. Maybe he's not watching. Does Oplerno have a set of guidelines for including images in online lectures? Is it considered fair use to include images in online lectures because the lectures are educational and only seen within the online classroom environment? That's the question.
Dan, do you want to take this first, or do you want me to take it?
I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of each photo's, use permits, but generally, as far as educational use goes, I'm under the understanding that if you attribute the image to its author, or the source from where you took it, you're generally okay to use it in educational materials. But that's all I know. I tend to use freeimages.com, which is just a stock image site. But if you're doing something that say has more historical relevance, and you need an actual image that someone else took and that might be copyrighted, I believe if you attribute your sources, you are free to use them in education.
The question.
And I'll preface that by saying we have to be a little bit careful, some websites have listed below on the website whether or not they are commons copyrighted, which means that you can attribute or use them in any way according to that commons copyright. Other material, for example, you know, if you go and you have a textbook that you're using, a physical textbook, and you make copies of that and put that online, okay, to use, that is not okay. You can't take copyrighted material, okay, like a textbook or a bunch of lesson plans, and place that online in your class, unless you, of course, get permission of the author. So it's a sort of a judgment. Some of it is a judgment call, and we go through the classes to make sure that you know, people aren't violating certain copyright provisions. You know, videos, for example, you can quote a certain amount of video, use a certain amount of video, which is okay for fair use. But what you can't do is use an entire lecture. Okay, if somebody's created a lecture and they place it up online, and it's in a site that's, you know, across a paywall like a university's, you know, material, you cannot appropriate that and take that and put that online and use that in your class. That's not okay. So there's a little bit of a fine line between stupid and clever. Okay, you got to be careful. We will make sure that, you know, he raises a good point about having sort of better guidelines in terms of this. We can come up with those, but there is a problem in that many of those rules are really evolving right now. So I guess the default position is, if you're going to use a text or an image, make sure that, like Dan said, that you post where that image is from and you attribute it to the right source. If it is educational material that is copyrighted, owned by a company or an individual, get their permission before you post that online, including an image. You know, don't appropriate tests or you know, textbook pages or anything like that. You know, don't, unless they say it's free. If you wanted to post a lecture, for example, from open source material, open class at MIT, that's okay because they've already released that material to everyone. But if it's from a company like Pearson's or another overseas company, if they haven't released it, don't place it on your in your class and on your page. If you have any specific questions, you can get in contact with Dan, and if Dan can't answer that, he'll contact me, and then I'll do some checking. Anything else?
No, I think that's it. No, this was. I think this was specifically Keith added to it that this was specifically about our reproductions of reproductions of art, because I think he's doing an art history course, if I remember correctly. So this is probably pictures of paintings, which of course have some kind of weird copyright owned by the photographer, but the painting is what it is out of copyright.
Yeah, and it also depends on what he's going to have to take a look and at the museums, okay, because different museums have different ways in which they copyright the paintings that they own. So we don't have a quick guide in terms of what you're allowed to do or not allowed to do. It's really going to, in that case, be very much image dependent. If it's from Getty, the J. Paul Getty museums, then definitely not, because they are really strict about getting paid for the images of all their paintings, statues, etc. If it's in the Vatican, a different situation. Okay. All right. I think that's it for today. Thank you guys for attending the public session of Oplerno's meeting, and keep making your classes, keep checking back with us, go on Slack, hang out with us, and definitely come up with a subject that you want to talk about, or even a subject that people are interested in seeing, and shoot it to us for Woodblock. And thank you all very much, and see you online.
We'll see you online now.
See you online.